In the stillness of dawn, where the first light of day dances hesitantly upon the horizon, there exists a profound silence, an almost reverent quiet that speaks to the timeless and unfathomable nature of the soul. This silence, a precursor to the cacophony of the waking world, is a place where whispers of the ancient divine seep through the veils of human existence, resonating with an urgency that tugs at the very fabric of one's being. Here, nestled in the hallowed sanctum of a soul, the question arises, is God testing your loneliness? Underneath the shroud of night, there lies an undeniable truth, an ancient wisdom that speaks directly to the heart's deepest recesses, the truth that one's solitude can be a crucible, a forge within which the chosen one's soul is tempered and refined, and through which divine purpose is illuminated. It is in this sacred solitude that the whispers of God's voice are heard, not as an echo in the void, but as a palpable presence pressing upon the very marrow of one's existence. In the stillness, there lies an undeniable tension, a pull towards the unseen that lies beyond the reach of the waking world's mundaneness. It is a calling that reverberates through the corridors of the soul, a summons that beckons one to ascend beyond the trivialities of day-to-day life and into the realm where the divine meets the human. It is a realm where the air is thick with the scent of the ineffable, where every breath is a prayer, and every heartbeat a testament to a journey that is both solitary and profoundly communal. Consider the sacred loneliness as an altar upon which one's deepest desires and fears are laid bare. In the solitude that envelops the chosen one, there is a profound encounter with an inner divinity that transcends the physical world. This inner divinity is not a mere figment of imagination, but a living, breathing essence that is intrinsic to the fabric of one's being. It is within this solitude that the chosen one's soul is laid open, vulnerable, yet empowered to receive the unseen grace of God. In this sacred silence, the chosen one's heart beats in synchrony with the eternal rhythm of the cosmos, each pulse a beat in the grand symphony of creation. It is here that the solitude becomes not a void, but a sacred space, a hallowed ground where the divine presence is felt in every fiber of one's being. This presence is not a distant, cold abstraction, but a warm, enveloping embrace that speaks directly to the very soul of the chosen one. The loneliness that accompanies this journey is not a burden, but a blessing, a divine trial that tests the very essence of one's faith and resolve. It is a trial that strips away the superficial, the perishable, the transient, leaving behind the pure, the eternal, the divine. It is a loneliness that is not devoid of companionship, but rather filled with the intimate presence of God, a presence that is both a comfort and a challenge, a guide and a test. In this profound loneliness, the chosen one encounters the paradox of being deeply connected, yet profoundly alone. Here, the isolation is not one of disconnection, but a profound connection to the divine, a connection that is simultaneously isolating and unifying. It is a paradox that speaks to the very essence of human existence, a paradoxical blend of solitude and communion, of loneliness and fullness, of isolation and unity. As the dawn breaks and the first rays of sunlight pierce the veil of night, the chosen one emerges from this sacred solitude, transformed and tempered. The path that lies ahead is one of profound power, a power that is born not from the world's fleeting accolades, but from the divine communion that has taken place within. The loneliness, once a trial, now becomes a source of strength, a wellspring of divine energy that fuels the chosen one's journey. And thus begins the urgent truth about the chosen one's path to power. It is a path that is fraught with loneliness, a loneliness that is both a curse and a blessing, a loneliness that is a test and a testament. It is a path that leads not to the world's fleeting pleasures, but to the eternal truth of one's soul, a truth that is deeply connected to the divine. It is a path that is both solitary and profoundly communal, a path that leads to the ultimate fulfillment that lies not in the world's transient distractions, but in the eternal communion with the divine. And so our tale continued, a tale woven in the divine fabric of destiny and human fragility, where the weight of the world rested upon upon the slender shoulders of the Chosen One, a figure both blessed and tormented by the celestial trials that had been set before them. The Chosen One walked through a labyrinthine forest, its ancient trees whispering secrets of ages long past, their gnarled branches reaching out like the fingers of forgotten hands. Every step the Chosen One took resonated with the heartbeat of the universe, a testament to a mission that was not their own, but one that had been inscribed in the stars before the earth itself had formed. The forest seemed to breathe with an otherworldly life, the air thick with the scent of sacred herbs and the unseen touch of spirit. It was here amid nature's solemn majesty that the Chosen One encountered the first of many trials that would test the very essence of their soul. The path ahead was cloaked in shadows, the light of day fading behind a curtain of thick emerald leaves. Yet it was not the darkness that struck fear into their heart, but rather the profound silence that enveloped the forest like a heavy shroud. In that silence, the Chosen One felt the tendrils of loneliness tightening around their spirit, each moment of isolation amplifying the solitude that seemed to seep into their very bones. The trials of loneliness were not mere physical hardships, but spiritual tribulations designed to peel away the layers of the Chosen One's defenses, to expose the raw, unguarded soul that lay beneath. It was as if God, in a moment of profound mercy and cruelty, had chosen to lay bare the vulnerabilities that lay hidden beneath the armor of strength and confidence. In the heart of the forest, the Chosen One came upon a clearing, an ancient altar of stone, overgrown with moss and time's relentless touch. It was here that the true test began. The Chosen One was to stand upon the altar, a solitary figure amidst the ancient monoliths of forgotten gods, and speak into the void of the universe. It was a moment both sacred and terrifying, a silent confrontation with the vastness of existence itself. As the Chosen One stood upon the altar, the wind seemed to still, and the very air held its breath in expectation. They closed their eyes, and in that sacred silence, they poured out their heart, their voice a whisper within the immensity of the cosmos. Each word was a prayer, a plea, a confession of the deep loneliness that had come to define their journey. The words echoed in the clearing, a sound that reverberated through the eons, a cry that transcended time itself. The wind rustled the leaves as though nature itself was listening, each rustle a gentle affirmation that the Chosen One's soul had been heard. And as the last echoes of their voice faded into the silence, the forest seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, a sound that carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken prayers. It was then that the Chosen One understood the loneliness was not a curse, but a blessing in disguise. It was a path that had been laid out to strip away the vestiges of self, to reveal the purest form of devotion, to show that in the deepest solitude, the connection to the divine could be felt most acutely. The loneliness had been a test, but it had also been a profound teacher. The forest seemed to hum with a newfound life, the leaves whispering in approval. As the Chosen One descended from the altar, their spirits strengthened, their heart open, and their mission clear. They had been tested in the crucible of isolation, and from that fire they emerged not only as the Chosen One, but as a beacon of light in the dark, solitary wilderness of existence. With every step forward, the Chosen One felt the presence of the divine guiding them, a hand unseen but felt in every turn of the path. The trials of loneliness had forged a soul of unwavering strength, and with that strength, the Chosen One would continue their journey, a testament to the idea that even in the profoundest solitude, one is never truly alone. And so the Chosen One moved onwards, their heart aflame with the fire of purpose and the spirit of destiny, ever ready to face whatever trials lay ahead, for they had learned that in the depths of loneliness, one could find the highest form of connection to the divine, and in that connection, the true path to power and salvation. In the dim, ancient chambers of the temple, where shadows clung to the walls like the memories of forgotten prayers, the Chosen One knelt bathed in the flickering light of candles that danced in rhythm with the whispers of celestial secrets. Each flicker was a heartbeat of divine revelation. Each murmur, a soft sigh of the universe that breathed life into the stone. The air was thick with incense, weaving a tapestry of sacred perfume through the air, enfolding the soul in its ancient embrace. The chosen one had long since ceased to hear the ordinary sounds of the world. Instead, the temple had become an antechamber to the divine, a sanctuary where the ethereal and the earthly intertwined in a silent prayer for guidance. The air felt laden with the weight of fate, yet the chosen one moved with a grace that belied the burdens of destiny laid upon their shoulders. Their eyes deep-set and luminous reflected not merely the candlelit sanctum, but the infinite cosmos they were bound to shepherd. The mission that had now become the chosen one's life's purpose was fraught with peril, a path marked by celestial trials that demanded not just courage, but an unyielding faith. It was a path that would strip away the superficial layers of existence, revealing the raw, exposed essence of divine will. In solitude, the chosen one pondered the enigmatic words left behind by the ancient priests, their cryptic verses interwoven into a tapestry that spoke of trials and tribulations of ascension and revelation. Each step taken on this sacred journey was a step deeper into the abyss of the divine mystery, a journey that required the chosen one to traverse the nebulous boundaries between the seen and unseen, the spoken and unspoken. To ascend to greatness, the chosen one would need to confront the very solitude that enveloped them, the loneliness that threatened to ensnare the soul in an abyss of doubt and despair. It was a loneliness that was not merely the absence of companionship, but a profound isolation from the mundane, a withdrawal into the sanctum of the spirit to commune with the celestial. The chosen one's heart, once a vessel of fragile humanity, had become tempered by the fires of introspection and divine communion. Each echo of silence in the temple chambers served as a reminder of the vast silent spaces between the stars, spaces that spoke of infinity and eternity. The chosen one's spirit, now fortified by the weight of their mission, seemed to expand, filling the very voids of the temple with an otherworldly presence that spoke of cosmic truths. The trials set forth by the divine were not mere tests of physical endurance, but profound examinations of the soul. Each test was a mirror reflecting the innermost depths of the chosen one's being, demanding an unvarnished honesty with oneself. The loneliness that accompanied these trials was not a curse, but a crucible forging within the chosen one an unyielding resolve, a clarity of purpose that could withstand the tempestuous trials of the divine. As the chosen one stood before the altar, the very epicenter of their mission, they felt the ancient unseen hands of the cosmos guiding their every move. The ambient hum of the universe seemed to resonate in their bones, a harmonic symphony that aligned their very essence with the divine plan. The weight of this mission, once an unbearable burden, had now become an extension of their being, an integral part of the soul that pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm. In the quiet moments of the night, when the temple lay still beneath the watchful gaze of the moon, the chosen one would often close their eyes, allowing the divine light to envelop them in an embrace that transcended the physical. It was in these moments of communion that the chosen one found not just solace, but a renewed sense of purpose. The loneliness was not a void, but a sacred space where the divine could speak most clearly, where the truths of the universe could be heard in the silence. The chosen one's journey demanded the shedding of the vestiges of ordinary existence, a shedding that allowed for the blossoming of a higher consciousness. It was through this profound transformation that the chosen one would ultimately accomplish their divine mission, a mission that would resonate through the ages, a testament to the indomitable spirit that could rise above even the most daunting of trials. As the first light of dawn crept through the ancient windows, casting ethereal beams across the temple floor, the chosen one rose, their spirit now fortified by the solitude, the silence, the loneliness that had become their companion through the night. This was not a moment of despair, but of transcendence, a moment where the chosen one stood poised not just as a shepherd of destiny, but as a beacon of divine revelation, ready to guide and illuminate the path for those who would follow. The mission was far from over, but the chosen one, through their journey, had discovered a profound truth that in the deepest loneliness, one often finds the most profound connection to the divine, and in that connection, the ultimate power to fulfill the sacred mission that fate had laid before them. In the heart of desolation, where the world seemed to have stripped itself of color and hope, Sarah felt the weight of the divine mission pressing upon her. Her breath came in shallow bursts, like a leaf caught in an endless storm. She stood there at the precipice of the ancient ruins, the once mighty fortress now standing shrouded in tendrils of shadow and silence, an echo of the grandeur it once harbored. Her heart pounded an erratic rhythm in her chest, a staccato symphony of fear, sorrow, and an indomitable resolve. Sarah's journey had taken her through valleys where the earth trembled beneath the weight of her footsteps, over mountains that seemed to reach the very gates of heaven, and through oceans where the depths whispered forgotten secrets. Each step had been a testament to the faith that never abandoned her, a faith that grew in strength with every hardship endured. Her mission, the mission of the chosen one, was now on the threshold of revelation, and the magnitude of what lay ahead bore down upon her with an almost tangible force. She closed her eyes, allowing the sensations to wash over her. The air was thick with the scent of ancient stone and the lingering echoes of forgotten prayers. She reached out her fingers, brushing against the cool, cracked surface of the wall. It was here, in this forgotten sanctuary, that she would find the answers she sought, the answers that would determine the fate of a world teetering on the brink of annihilation. In her solitude, Sarah felt the loneliness of her burden keenly. The isolation that had shrouded her path was not just physical, but spiritual. It was a loneliness that spoke to the deepest recesses of her soul, a loneliness that seemed to mirror the silence of the void that God sometimes allowed to envelop the chosen one. It was a loneliness that tested the very foundation of her spirit, challenging her to find strength where there seemed to be none. But within this loneliness, a profound truth emerged. It was in the silence, in the profound stillness that surrounded her, that she heard the whispers of divine guidance. The loneliness that had once seemed like a trial was now a testament to her unwavering faith. It was a lonely road, but it was hers to tread. It was a path that others could not walk with her, for it was one uniquely forged by her divine appointment. The chosen one was meant to traverse this path alone, to bear the burden that no other could bear. As she stood there, the memories of her encounters with doubt and despair flooded her mind. Each time she faltered, each time she questioned her mission, the divine light within her had shone a little brighter. It had been a relentless inner battle, fought not with weapons, but with prayers and tears, with the quiet strength of unwavering resolve. And now, as she stood at the threshold of revelation, she realized that the loneliness had been a crucible, a forge in which her spirit had been tested and purified. It had been a necessary trial, a test of her faith that had only strengthened her resolve. She opened her eyes, the depths of the ruins now filled with an ethereal glow. It was a light that seemed to emanate from within her, a brilliant, undeniable truth that transcended the shadows that had sought to engulf her. The chosen one had emerged from the darkness, not unscathed, but transformed. The power of her mission was undeniable, but it was also tethered to the deepest fibers of her being. It was a power that was both a gift and a curse, a burden that had threatened to overshadow the light within her. Yet in this solitude, she understood that the loneliness had not been a curse, but a profound blessing in disguise. It had been the sanctum where her spirit had been restored, where her faith had been unyielding, where her heart had found its true calling. The chosen one was no longer just a vessel for a divine mission, but had become a beacon of hope, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. In this moment of revelation, Sarah felt the weight of her mission lifting ever so slightly. The loneliness had been both her greatest trial and her greatest teacher. It had shown her that true divine power comes from within. It is born not from isolation, but from the unshakable faith that resides in the depths of one's soul. The chosen one was no longer just an instrument of divine will, but a living testament to the strength found in solitude. With renewed vigor, she stepped forward, the ancient ruins now pulsating with a newfound energy. The path ahead was long fraught with peril and uncertainty, but Sarah knew she was no longer alone. The divine light that now illuminated her way was a beacon of hope, a reminder that she was on a mission that transcended the temporal world. It was a mission of redemption, of restoration, of a world that waited in the balance of her actions. As she moved forward, each step was imbued with a sense of purpose, of an undeniable calling that was both hers and the divine. She knew the trials that lay ahead would test her to the core, but she also knew that the loneliness that had once threatened to break her was now a source of profound strength. It had forged her into a being of unwavering resolve, a chosen one who had faced the void and emerged triumphant. This was her path, her divine appointment, and as she walked the ancient stone corridors, she carried with her the light of 1,000 prayers, the whispers of forgotten wisdom, and the unwavering belief that she was indeed the chosen one. The loneliness that had once seemed like a curse had become the crucible for her spirit, and she was now ready to embrace the mission that had been ordained from eternity. The mission was clear: to restore what had been lost, to heal what had been broken, to bring forth the dawn of a new era where hope would once again flourish. Sarah stepped into the light, her heart filled with an unquenchable fire, her soul a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, and her spirit forever intertwined with the divine. Each step echoed with the promise of a world reborn, a promise that the chosen one would not falter, would not fail, but would carry forth the light of hope until the shadows of despair were vanquished forevermore. In the end, the loneliness had not been a test, but a trial that had shaped her into the vessel of divine will. Sarah, the chosen one, had emerged from the depths of solitude, not broken, but transformed, ready to fulfill her divine mission, her heart ablaze with the eternal flame of hope, her spirit unyielding, her destiny intertwined with the very fabric of existence. The world would know the light she carried within, and in her, the world would find its beacon of redemption and renewal. The moon hung like a somber guardian in the sky, casting its ethereal light upon the chosen one who stood alone upon the precipice of a mountain. She was no ordinary soul. The weight of divine purpose bore heavily upon her shoulders, each breath a sacred invocation, each step a step toward a destiny that shimmered with both promise and peril. This solitary figure, robed in a tapestry of celestial threads that seemed woven from the very fabric of her soul, had been chosen for a purpose that transcended the mundane fabric of mortal existence. She was marked by the divine to fulfill a mission of unfathomable magnitude, a mission that would not only alter her path, but reshape the very skein of destiny. As the night deepened, the chosen one's heart swelled with an internal tide, a mix of reverence and dread. She could feel the invisible threads of fate pulling at her, guiding her towards an audience with the Watcher, the ethereal being charged with the guardianship of divine revelation. In this fragile moment, her solitude was both a veil and a sanctuary, a space where the burden of her mission could be contemplated without the distraction of the world below. Her eyes closed in silent prayer, the universe itself holding its breath in anticipation of her decision. The path ahead was fraught with trials, each one a crucible designed to test the mettle of her spirit, to carve away the dross of weakness and self-interest, until only the core of her divine purpose remained. She had been offered glimpses of her mission visions that flickered like the delicate flames of an eternal candle, showing her glimpses of the world as it would be shaped by her actions, a world where darkness and light had yet to know their destined place. She was to be the beacon of hope the sword to cleave through the Gordian knot of despair that held humanity captive. Her mind wandered to the trials she had already endured, each one a testament to her unwavering resolve. She had faced storms that raged with the fury of 1,000 tempests, her sanctuary alone providing her the strength to weather them. She had been tested by doubt, the silent specter that lurked in the corners of the human heart, whispering insidious lies of inadequacy and fear. Yet with each trial, she had found within herself a wellspring of courage she had never known. Existed a reservoir of divine grace that had been granted to her by the very hands of God. In her reverie, she envisioned the face of her enemy, an entity of pure malice, a shadow that had crept into the world with the intent of extinguishing every spark of light. This malevolent force sought to envelop humanity in its darkness, to turn the world into a monolithic realm of despair. And she, the chosen one, was to be the light to pierce through this veil of gloom, to be the catalyst for a resurgence of hope and righteousness. But with this burden came an unbearable loneliness, a solitude that deepened with each step towards her appointed destiny. The world around her seemed to shrink the noise of daily life, fading into a distant murmur, leaving her in the company only of her thoughts and the heavy silence of divine expectation. She had long since bid farewell to the warmth of fellowship, the comfort of familiar faces, the solace of shared laughter and tears. Her people understood little of her mission, for it was a path that lay beyond the reach of mortal comprehension. They had become, in a sense, her silent guardians, their prayers echoing through the corridors of the divine, unseen and unheard by her, but ever present in her heart. As she stood poised upon the mountain's edge, the wind weaving through her robes like whispers of encouragement, she felt the weight of her charge more acutely than ever. The loneliness of the chosen one was not merely an existential plight, but a crucible of spirit, a place where the truth of one's calling could be most acutely felt. It was in this isolation that her heart had been transformed, that she had come to know the depth of her purpose and the breadth of the sacrifice it would demand. The watcher's voice, a harmonious blend of calm and authority, broke through the stillness. The trials are not mere tests of strength, but moments to strengthen your spirit in solitude. It is in your loneliness that you will find the clarity to discern the true path. With these words, the chosen one's spirit was fortified. She understood that her isolation was not a condemnation, but a sacred requirement, a necessary space for the divine to speak directly to her heart, that it might prepare her for the immense responsibility that lay ahead. With a heart alight with the knowledge that came from divine counsel, she began her descent from the mountaintop. Each step resonated with an unspoken promise of fulfillment, to come a promise that her loneliness would not render her weak, but would instead serve as the crucible in which her strength would be forged. She was preparing to walk a path untrodden, a journey that would etch her name into the annals of eternity, a journey that would see her confront the very darkness that sought to snuff out all light. The world was asleep, unaware of the chosen one's mission, but she knew that her journey was not one of self-interest, but a selfless endeavor to restore balance to a world teetering on the edge. Her heart swelled with purpose, her eyes alight with the fire of divine mission. She would not falter, for she had become the vessel through which the will of the divine would be enacted upon the world. She would walk her path no matter the cost, for she was chosen, and her destiny was as unyielding as the stars that now glimmered in the velvet expanse of the night sky. In the shadow of ancient mountains, the chosen one walked a path, both solitary and sacred, where each step resonated with the echoes of forgotten prophecies and the whispers of divine orchestrations. The sun, a molten orb of golden fire, hung low in the sky, casting long, trembling shadows across the rugged terrain. Sweat glistened on the chosen one's brow, not just from the physical toll of their journey, but from the heavy burden of purpose weighing down upon their soul, a purpose that was both an honor and a cross. The chosen one was not born into a life of comfort or wealth. Rather, They emerge from the dust and shadow their birth, a mysterious event shrouded in celestial light and hushed prayers. Even as a child, their destiny had been etched in the stars, marking them as the vessel through which the Almighty would pour forth blessings upon a fractured world. But with destiny came a profound loneliness, a chasm that grew wider with each passing day. For every soul they encountered, there seemed to be an unspoken understanding of the burden they bore, and yet none truly grasped the depth of it. As they journeyed further into the wilderness, the silence of the ancient forest enveloped them like a benediction. Every rustle of leaves, every flutter of a bird's wing seemed to echo their inner turmoil. The chosen one's heart, despite its strength, felt the pull of an insatiable loneliness. Their path was not just one of physical endurance, but of spiritual warfare. Each mile, a step into the depths of their own soul, and each prayer, a shield against the doubts that crept like shadows at the edge of consciousness. Is God testing my loneliness? They often pondered in the quiet hours of night. Alone, beneath the vast, star-studded canopy, they questioned the purpose of their isolation. Were they truly meant to walk this path in solitude, or was it some cruel twist of fate that the Almighty had placed them in this role, only to ensure they would never know the warmth of true companionship? As they knelt in silent prayer, the universe seemed to hold its breath, waiting for an answer that would never come from the heavens, but from within. The chosen one's journey was not merely a physical pilgrimage, but a spiritual odyssey, a path toward enlightenment fraught with trials that tested the very essence of their being. Every obstacle, every setback seemed to be a divine test, a measure of their resolve. Yet, in the darkest moments, when doubt gnawed at their spirit, the chosen one would remember the ancient words bestowed upon them by the prophets of old. He who is truly chosen finds power in the depths of his loneliness. There were moments when despair threatened to consume them, when the enormity of their mission felt like a noose tightening around their neck. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, yet the chosen one pressed onward, driven by an ember of faith that refused to be extinguished. They wandered through deserts that seemed to stretch endlessly, where mirages of hope danced in the heat, and the very air seemed to thicken with the weight of expectation. In a remote village, nestled between two craggy hills, the chosen one encountered a woman whose eyes held the wisdom of centuries. She too had walked the path of loneliness, and her presence was a balm to their weary spirit. "You are the chosen one," she had said, her voice a gentle melody that cut through the silence. "But remember, it is in your solitude that you will find the greatest strength." The Almighty does not abandon those He has chosen. He shapes them into instruments of His will, refining their spirit through trials. Her words resonated deeply within the chosen one, igniting a newfound resolve. They began to see their loneliness not as a curse, but as a crucible, a place where their spirit could be forged anew, where their heart could be open to the infinite love that flowed through all things. And so, with a heart both heavy and light, they continued on their journey, each step a testament to their unwavering faith. As the chosen one approached the final stretch of their journey, the air grew thick with anticipation. They were nearing the sacred mountain, the place where their destiny would be fulfilled. The path grew steeper and more treacherous, yet the chosen one moved with a newfound grace, their every step buoyed by the knowledge that they were not alone. Though they had walked much of the way in solitude, they had carried with them the whispers of the cosmos, the silent benedictions of saints who had gone before, and the eternal presence of the divine. Finally, at the summit of the sacred mountain, beneath the sky, alight with the first glimmers of dawn, the chosen one stood bathed in a celestial glow. Here, in the presence of the infinite, they felt the weight of their loneliness lift, replaced by a profound sense of belonging. For in this moment of revelation, the chosen one understood that their isolation was not a burden, but a sacred conduit through which the Almighty's love could flow unfettered. With a heart full of gratitude and a spirit renewed, the chosen one looked out over the world below, a world that now seemed to be a part of them, in ways they could scarcely comprehend. As the first rays of the sun broke over the horizon, illuminating the path before them, the chosen one knew that their true journey had only just begun. A journey not just of power, but of profound, unyielding love. A love that transcended all loneliness and touched the very soul of creation. As the chosen one, his burden was a heavy cloak, draped not just over his shoulders, but pressing into the very marrow of his bones, a weight that seemed to whisper the secrets of the cosmos into the silence of his solitude. His journey was not merely one of conquest or dominion. It was an odyssey that demanded more than flesh and sinew. It required the deepest wellsprings of the soul. His path was a labyrinth of spiritual trials, each corridor echoing with the silent hum of ancient truth, each turn a deeper plunge into the enigma of his purpose. In the hushed whispers of the night, he felt the ancient eyes of a deity tracing an invisible map across the canvas of his heart. Stars burned with a celestial intensity that seemed to pierce through the veil of the mundane, leading his spirit toward a destiny that resonated in the very fabric of reality. The night's stillness was pregnant with unseen forces, each one a testament to the vast, uncharted expanses of the divine. He felt the loneliness not as an emptiness, but as a sacred vessel filled with a profound solitude that carried the whispers of the Almighty. He knelt in the barren expanses of the desert, beneath an indigo sky that stretched infinitely, each star a silent witness to the unfolding drama of his mission. His hands dug into the granules of sand, absorbing its cold and gritty texture, as if to ground himself in the tangible world. His eyes, though fixed upon the heavens, saw beyond the visible to an existence woven from threads of light and shadow, where every choice and every silence was a brushstroke in the divine canvas of his fate. As the desert winds whispered through the dunes, he felt the pulse of the universe in their chill breath, urging him to seek the hidden chambers of his soul, where ancient wisdom lay dormant, awaiting resurrection. This was the crucible in which the chosen one was forged, where the fires of isolation and spiritual desolation would refine him, rendering his spirit as unbreakable as the ancient stones that bore witness to his trials. In the solitude of his contemplation, he found echoes of forgotten prayers, ancient hymns that had once been sung by the very first worshippers of the divine. Each note was a thread that wove itself into the fabric of his being, binding him closer to the source from which he had come, reminding him that he was but a humble instrument entrusted with the sacred symphony that was to resound through the ages. The melodies of the cosmos played subtly in the background of his thoughts, a reminder that he was but a note in the divine composition. His inner sanctum was not unlike a cathedral in its silent reverence, where the walls of his mind held sacred relics of past trials and triumphs. Each scar, each triumph, and each failure was a polished jewel within this chamber of the soul, reflecting the infinite light of his purpose. He understood now that every moment of loneliness had been a deliberate act of communion with the divine, a chance to hear the symphony of the cosmos play its sacred notes through the silence. The wind carried the scent of distant oasis, a promise of renewal, and he felt the stirrings of resilience within. He knew that the journey was far from over. It had only just begun to unfurl its true dimensions. Each step forward was a testament to the unyielding spirit that had been awakened within him. He was to become the beacon of hope, the unbending pillar in the storm of turmoil that would engulf the world. His vision was not clouded by illusions or the mirage of earthly desires. It was clear, piercing through the veil of the visible into the radiant light of true purpose. He was to bear the torch of enlightenment, to guide the lost and the weary, to show them the path that led out of the desert of despair into the verdant fields of spiritual rebirth. His eyes, now opened to the celestial truths, glowed with the fervor of the divine mission that had been bestowed upon him. The loneliness that enveloped him was not a curse, but a baptism in the fire of solitude, where the soul could be purified, tested, and strengthened by the divine hands that shaped him. He walked through the sands with a newfound strength, each footfall a prayer, each breath a hymn to the eternal presence that had ordained his path. His heart, once fractured by the weight of isolation, now beat in rhythm with the eternal heartbeat of the cosmos. And so, with the scars glistening like the stars that had led him here, the chosen one walked onward, his soul alight with the sacred fire of purpose, carrying within him the hope of the ages, ready to face the challenges ahead. For he knew that in the loneliness lay the true testing ground for the chosen one, a crucible that forged him into the very essence of what it meant to be a vessel of divine power. Thus, the tale of the chosen one continued a testament to the unending dance between solitude and divine communion, a saga where loneliness was not a barrier, but a bridge to the most profound depths of spiritual enlightenment and divine power. The stars above shimmered in silent applause, each a silent witness to the unfolding of a destiny, bound not by flesh alone, but by the very spirit of the cosmos itself. In the quiet hours of dawn, when the world was still wrapped in the soft embrace of twilight, the chosen one stood alone upon the edge of the ancient forest, where the whispering trees were thought to hold the secrets of forgotten epics. The silence was thick with the weight of an unseen presence, a presence that seemed to murmur just beyond the threshold of perception, a presence that was both a void and a fullness, a question and an answer wrapped within the enigma of existence. The air was tinged with the scent of pine and earth, a balsamic promise of renewal and old wisdom. It was here upon this sacred ground that the chosen one was to begin their solitary journey, a journey that was to transform their very essence, a journey that would test the very core of their being. The path was narrow, a serpentine trail that wound through the dense foliage where sunlight struggled to penetrate the canopy and the shadows danced with an ethereal life of their own. It was a place where every step was a prayer, every rustle of leaves a solemn hymn. The chosen one walked with purpose, their feet barely disturbing the undisturbed carpet of leaves and moss that blanketed the forest floor. Each footfall seemed to echo with the resonance of ancient footsteps, as if the forest itself was guiding, watching, and waiting. Amid the verdant undergrowth, the air grew thick with the scent of damp earth, the promise of a hidden spring or a stream nearby. The chosen one bent low to drink, cupping their hands around the cool crystalline water that seemed to shimmer with hidden lights and colors. The liquid was a communion, a small but profound act of connection to something greater, a taste of the divine ambrosia that nourished the soul. As the chosen one moved deeper into the forest, the atmosphere thickened with palpable intensity. The trees seemed to close in their branches, intertwining into a living canopy that shut out the world above. Here, the chosen one was stripped of all extraneous burdens, clothes, possessions, even the semblance of time. Only their spirit remained bared to the elements of the divine trial that lay ahead. The silence was not merely the absence of sound, but a profound presence that seemed to fill the marrow of every bone, to occupy the very thoughts and dreams. It was both a void and an embrace, a place where loneliness felt like a sacred solitude. It was in this profound isolation that the chosen one began to confront the deepest chambers of their soul. The loneliness was not a burden, but a blessing. It was a crucible in which the raw and unpolished metal of their spirit would be refined and forged into something pure and potent. As the sun climbed higher, the forest grew more labyrinthine, each turn more mysterious. The chosen one moved forward, guided by an inner light that seemed to emanate from their very essence. It was a light that pulsed with the rhythm of their heartbeat, a beacon that drew them ever closer to the heart of the forest and the heart of their mission. Deep within the forest, the chosen one found a glade where the light of the sun broke through the canopy in a splendid, almost otherworldly display. It was a place of revelation, where the boundaries between the seen and unseen worlds began to blur. Here, the chosen one knelt, bowing their head in reverence and silent prayer. They surrendered to the divine will, to the unseen forces that had chosen them for a path fraught with both peril and promise. In the midst of the glade, there was a stone, ancient and massive, its surface etched with runes that shimmered with an otherworldly light. This stone was the focal point, the altar upon which the Chosen One would offer their heart and soul. As they approached, they felt an overwhelming sense of purpose, as if the stone itself was calling to them, resonating with a frequency that vibrated through their very being. Upon the stone, the Chosen One laid their hands, feeling the cool stone pulse beneath their palms. It was a communion that transcended the physical, a connection that reached into the core of their being. The stone seemed to absorb their essence, channeling it into a vast cosmic flow. The Chosen One felt their spirit lift, as if they were ascending into the heavens, merging with the divine essence that permeated the universe. The solitude of the forest deepened, yet it became a sanctuary, a place where the Chosen One could hear the whispers of the cosmos, the unseen currents of destiny. It was here that they understood the true nature of their mission, a mission that required not just strength, but wisdom, compassion, and an unwavering faith in the unseen forces that governed the world. As the Chosen One stood in the heart of the glade, they felt a transformation beginning. Their spirit was not just being tested, but was also being honed, like a blade sharpening against a whetstone. The loneliness that had once been a shadow now became a beacon, illuminating the path forward. And so the Chosen One began the ascent from the depths of the forest. Their heart and spirit renewed their mission clear. They were not just a solitary wanderer, but a beacon of hope and a harbinger of change chosen to navigate the intricate web of existence and to guide others through the darkness of their own souls. With each step, they carried the wisdom of the ancient forest and the light of the divine within them, ready to face the trials ahead and to emerge as a beacon of enlightenment in a world often shrouded in doubt and despair. In the stillness of the night, the Chosen One knelt upon the cold stones of the ancient temple, eyes closed in fervent prayer. Shadows danced along the walls, cast by flickering torches that seemed to burn in defiance of God's silent presence. The air was thick with the scent of incense, its sweet, ethereal aroma weaving through the air like an invisible tapestry of devotion. It was here in this hallowed sanctum that the Chosen One would grapple with the weight of destiny that bore upon their soul. The Chosen One's heart pounded with a rhythm that matched the ancient chants echoing through the temple halls. The cadence of sacred words reverberated in the cavern of their mind, each phrase weaving a deeper layer of spiritual significance into the fabric of their being. It was not just the echo of tradition that filled the chamber, but the palpable presence of something far greater, a divine whisper urging them forward on a path fraught with peril and uncertainty. As layers of doubt threatened to suffocate their spirit, the Chosen One felt the tendrils of loneliness begin to enshroud their heart. Here, in the silence, far removed from the bustling world outside, the isolation felt like a crucible in which the metal of their purpose would either be forged or shattered. The silence deepened, and with it came a profound realization. Perhaps this very loneliness was the test a trial by silence meant to strip away the mundane, the petty, the irrelevant, in order to reveal the pure, unadulterated truth of one's mission. The Chosen One opened their eyes, gazing upward at the star-speckled dome that arched over their bowed figure. In that celestial tapestry, they glimpsed the vastness of the cosmos, an infinite expanse that mirrored the infinity of God's wisdom. It was in this infinity that they found solace, for even in the depths of solitude, they were never truly alone. They were part of something greater, a continuum of seekers, saints, and souls who had traversed the same path in ages long past. The flicker of a torch revealed the inscribed stones around them, each bearing symbols and glyphs that seemed to pulse with ancient knowledge. The Chosen One traced their fingers over the textures, feeling the latent power that had been etched into these stones by hands now long consigned to history. These inscriptions were not mere decorations, but portals to the wisdom of the ages, gateways to understanding the eternal truths that governed the universe. The Chosen One's journey had begun with the faint whisper of a calling, an inkling so subtle that it had taken years to recognize its significance. Now standing in this sacred chamber, they understood that the loneliness was not a curse, but a divine design, a necessary phase in the alchemical process of transformation. It was through this solitude that they would cultivate the strength and clarity needed to fulfill their destiny. As dawn broke, the first light of day crept through the high windows, casting a golden hue across the temple floor. The chosen one arose, their spirit bolstered by the night's reflection and revelation. Outside, the world was waking to another day, but within this sacred place, time had become a mere illusion, a fleeting moment within the eternal now. They stepped forward, the weight of their purpose now a harmonious chord within the symphony of their being. The path ahead was fraught with obstacles and shadows, a terrain fraught with ambiguity and peril. Yet, the chosen one knew that it was precisely in this labyrinth of uncertainty that the true nature of their mission would be unveiled. It was not merely about gaining power, but about wielding it with wisdom, love, and integrity. The loneliness they had felt was but a prelude to the profound connections they would forge along this sacred journey. Throughout the world, cities buzzed with life, and the chosen one gazed upon this mundane yet intricate tapestry with a newfound reverence. They understood that the divine was woven into every thread of existence, that every human heart beat in time with the divine rhythm. It was this understanding that would guide their steps as they moved forward, their solitude now a cherished ally rather than an enemy. In the weeks that followed, the chosen one traveled across vast landscapes from the arid deserts to lush rainforests, each scene painting a picture of the divine tapestry that was Earth. They encountered diverse beings, each with their own story, their own struggles and triumphs. They listened, learned, and grew each interaction a step deeper into the wellspring of universal wisdom. The chosen one's heart swelled with each shared moment, each act of kindness or revelation, each lesson learned from the myriad forms life took. Though the path was still fraught with challenges, the loneliness that once seemed burdensome now felt like a cherished companion, a reminder of their inner sanctum, a place of quiet strength and unyielding resolve. In this vast and intricate dance of existence, the chosen one found their place. It was not in isolation, but in the heart of it all, the beating heart of the world, and the world, in turn, in the heart of the chosen one. They had embraced their loneliness not as a test, but as a teacher, guiding them deeper into the truth of their mission. And so the chosen one moved forward, a beacon of hope and wisdom, ready to embrace the fullness of their destiny, their heart open to the infinite tapestry of divine connection that wove through all things. The evening sun cast long, shadowy fingers across the barren landscape, its light refracting through the crystalline tears that formed in the eyes of the chosen one. Here in this vast, silent desolation, where the echoes of millennia past hung heavy in the air, Elihu felt the weight of the cosmos pressing down upon his weary soul. The chosen one's journey was no mere mortal endeavor, but a divine orchestration, where every step resonated with the cadence of eternity. Elihu had traversed the rugged terrain of arid hills and treacherous valleys, his heart a sanctuary of unspoken prayers and fervent supplications. Each dawn broke with a hushed promise, its golden rays weaving into the fabric of his soul, a tapestry of divine guidance. He had endured sleepless nights under the vast star-studded canopy, where celestial whispers seemed to serenade his forlorn heart, with celestial harmonies urging him forward on his sacred path. And now, here at the precipice of an ancient ruin, he stood as the sole sentinel between the old world and the dawn of a new era. He surveyed the ruins, fragments of a civilization that had once thrived, now lay scattered like forgotten dreams. This place, once pulsating with life, had succumbed to the relentless passage of time, its grandeur turned to dust. Yet beneath the patina of decay, Elihu sensed a stirring, a latent power waiting to be awakened. The chosen one's mission was not one of conquest or subjugation, but of redemption, a spiritual odyssey that demanded sacrifice, humility, and unwavering faith. Each trial he had faced was a crucible, each tribulation a means to distill the gold of his spirit from the dross of his doubts and fears. But now, amidst the haunting silence of desolation, a question arose, piercing through the very essence of his being. Is God testing your loneliness? As he pondered this profound truth, a gentle breeze wafted through the ruins, carrying with it the scent of forgotten age and whispered secrets of the past. Elihu felt a shiver traverse his spine, a reminder that he was not alone in this desolate theater of time. The divine presence, omnipresent and omniscient, was a beacon of solace in his isolation, a testament to the unyielding bond between the Chosen One and the Almighty. In this solitude, Elihu's spirit found its truest reflection. It was here, in the crucible of loneliness, that he could truly hear the quiet, insistent call of his destiny. He realized that the loneliness was not a curse, but a sacred crucible, a place where the essence of his soul could be forged anew, tempered by the fires of divine trial. It was in the quietude of his heart that he discovered the depths of his devotion, a devotion that transcended the superficialities of worldly acclaim. Elihu knelt before the crumbling altar, his fingers tracing the worn inscriptions etched into the stone remnants of a language long forgotten. As he meditated upon their meaning, the inscriptions seemed to come alive, their ancient wisdom echoing through the corridors of his mind. He understood that the path ahead was fraught with peril and uncertainty, but it was also luminous, with the promise of a new dawn, a dawn that he was destined to herald. In that moment, a profound revelation washed over him. The loneliness he had felt was not a harbinger of isolation, but a beacon of clarity. It was a divine test designed to challenge the very core of his being, to sift through the dross and reveal the pure gold of his spirit. And as he embraced this truth, a warmth blossomed within him, a warmth that transcended the cold, empty expanse around him. "You are not alone," a voice whispered through the stillness, soft yet resonant with divine authority. "I am with you, as I have always been. Your loneliness is but a veil, a temporary shadow that will give way to the light of your destiny." With renewed vigor and unshakable faith, Elihu rose from his knees, his spirit now a beacon of unwavering hope. He understood that his mission was not merely to wield power, but to inspire transformation, to kindle a flame of spiritual awakening in the hearts of those around him. The path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was unafraid, for he knew that he was the chosen one, chosen not for his strength or prowess, but for his unwavering faith and devotion. As night fell, the stars emerged in a celestial symphony, their twinkling lights casting a celestial glow upon the ruins. Elihu stood amidst the ancient stones, his heart alight with divine purpose. He knew that the trials ahead would test the very fabric of his soul, but he was ready. For in the crucible of his loneliness, he had discovered the profound truth that he was never truly alone. The divine presence was always with him, guiding him, sustaining him, and igniting within him the fire of his destiny. And so, with a heart full of grace and a spirit untouched by fear, Elihu embarked upon the final leg of his journey, prepared to embrace whatever lay ahead, for he knew that in the end, he would not just be a chosen one. He would be a beacon of light, a harbinger of a new era, and a testament to the boundless love and unwavering faith that lay at the heart of the divine plan. The air turned heavy, thick with an unspoken truth that hung between the heavens and the earth, a truth that only the chosen one could hear. She stood on the precipice of an ancient desert, the sands whispering secrets from ages past each grain, a testament to the endurance of those who walked before her. The desert was not merely a barren expanse. It was a solemn sacred labyrinth where the divine and the human spirits contended under the watchful gaze of the Almighty. Her heart pounded a wild rhythm, an echo of the cosmic symphony that had begun to resonate within her. This was no ordinary heart. It bore the weight of destinies. This was no everyday desert that stretched endlessly. It was a crucible, a transformative force, that would refine her spirit and sharpen her resolve. She was the one whose journey was scribed in the annals of eternity. Her path was not her own, but a chosen path, ordained by a divine will that transcended time itself. The loneliness clung to her like a shadow, an almost comforting presence that whispered ancient truths. In moments of profound solitude, she had come to understand that loneliness was not a curse, but a profound gift, a sacred silence that allowed her to truly hear the divine whispers. It was in these moments that God's presence was most palpable, a divine touch that held her in its infinite embrace. She had learned that true connection with the divine did not require companionship. It required an openness to the divine's solitary grace. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows that stretched and intertwined like the complex threads of fate that wound around her spirit. Here in this place, where the very air seemed to hum with the echoes of ancient prayers, she felt the weight of her mission more vividly than ever before. She knew that the road ahead was fraught with trials that would test her to the very core. She was a beacon, a flame in the darkness, called to illuminate the path for those who would follow. Her eyes scanned the horizon, where the line between sky and earth began to blur, as if the universe itself was conspiring to keep her focus on the mission ahead. The stars began to emerge, each one a celestial sentinel that would guard her journey through the night. They twinkled like divine affirmations, each light a promise that she was on the right path, despite the loneliness that sometimes threatened to eclipse her spirit. She closed her eyes and let the silence wash over her. In that moment, she felt the presence of God's love surrounding her, a comfort that surpassed any human solace. It was a love that accepted her even in her isolation. It was a love that nurtured her even when she felt most forsaken. It was a love that would guide her even through the darkest of nights. She was not alone. She was deeply, irrevocably connected to something far greater than herself. The winds picked up, carrying with them the scent of ancient stories and forgotten dreams. She could almost hear the whispers of prophets and sages who had walked this path before her, their spirits now woven into the tapestry of her destiny. They had all faced their own trials, but they had also found strength in their solitude, solace in the divine silence. As the first stars blazed overhead, she felt an immense, unfathomable power building within her. It was not a mere force, but a calling, a divine ordination that demanded nothing less than her complete surrender. She stepped forward, each footfall a declaration of her commitment,